heading towards a certification of being professional technologists or register as a professional technologist to have a practice with MBOT. We have IR Hisham also joining today, and also technologist Zuha. So I'll introduce both of them very shortly. So maybe before I go to the presentation, while I will introduce myself very shortly. We have a total of three assessors today with all of you, and all the three of us will be doing assessment in pair with all of you, where else all of you will be also as a group of four for the duration of 45 minutes each batch or each sub batch, we call it. So we call this batch five, all of you. So you are, fifth batch of being assessed throughout the year lah, by similar by all of us. So why we are doing in a group? Why as individual? Actually, we realize that the group assessment is more effective. I think you will be wondering. I too wondered many years ago, why would that be a group assessment? Then wouldn't it be easier or difficult, whichever the case may be? But actually, we found out that the group assessment is very effective in not only we to assess, even though we call it assessment. At the end of the day, we also want you all to learn something, something to take away with you, a way that you can, sort of level off your expectation between each other, and try to also have a conversation between each other to see, how we are maneuvering our professional journey, and how do we contextually imagine the professional journey would be. And then you start to realize that the expectation of individuals, expectation as a group, and of course the expectation of MBOT themselves. And usually the discourse and the discussion through this 45 minutes is quite powerful. And many people actually appreciated the group assessment more than the individual assessment. But at the end of the day, it also very important that 45 minutes, you are able to interact both ways. So you have a full 45 minutes, each one of you, even though it's in a group, so all of you actually have an interaction of 45 minutes, which is quite good. I mean, sufficiently enough uh, to to uh, to have the assessment done. So my name is Anwar, technologist Anwar. I'm currently with a company called Reservoiring Energy Berhad as a CTO. I've been with Moxie for quite some time now, Malaysia Oil and Gas Services Council. So you have not exposed to Moxie, you can always find out in the Google. It's To keep it short, it's an industry association, very similar to ACA Union, but it is not really a union. It's an industry association that intend to propel the sustainability of the ecosystem, especially in the context of OGSE, oil and gas services and equipment, but also how the other stakeholders also relate to OGSE, right? The likes of the hydrocarbon producers and also government agencies. I've been in the industry for almost 18 years now, from graduated from UTP, and also completed my postgraduate in ICL. So along with me, we have Hisham. Hisham, you want to have a very short introduction of yourself as well?
Okay, yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Hisham. Okay, I've been in oil and gas industry for the last 30 years. Okay, my first 5 years was with the power generation industry, and then the next 30 years was actually with oil and gas. 10 years was with Shell, and the remaining years were actually doing my own business in contracting, consulting, and a bit of training. Okay, I've been assessor for MBOT. Okay, I've also been assessor for IMM, Institute of Material Malaysia, for material science and technology, as well as assessor for Moxie. Okay, and then I'm also used to actually do assessing those who actually want to sit for professional interview. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. Okay.
Thank you, Arisham. We have Zuha, but he's not. He's joining a little bit later. Maybe we will probably have a chat with him later on once we end. So today I intend to talk about professional journey with all of you. I have prepared a deck just to give an overview of what to expect in the assessment. That's a bit more focused. But apart from that, also give you the right expectation. Like, many of you have your own reason why you want to undertake this journey and why you want to be a professional technologist. While it is okay to have a unique expectation, but it's also important to understand what is MBOT expectation and why we have the professional registration in the first place. and what is the expectation of the journey, and what is the expectation of you as a professionals later on. And that means it is not all about being a professionally accredited or registered, but very importantly, how you're going to carry yourself to actually reflect what does it mean to be a professional technologist. So you carry the brand about yourself and also the profession, being a professionals. So let me share the deck. I hope all of you are here for the same reason. If any one of you are not, I mean, inadvertently join the meeting, you can just raise your hand and leave. But if you want to hear, it's absolutely fine. It is not an assessment; it is a briefing session. So usually I will do this briefing in pair lah, with IR Yo, Technology CEO. He has been with us for quite some time. He is supposed to join us today. He is also away. He's in West Africa today, doing some work for hydrocarbon producers there, especially on competency and training and development in offshore. So today, as I mentioned, we will talk about professional registration and practices via MBOT, and we hope that this registration, as well as what you're going to do after the registration, it is eventually an en route for you to enlighten yourself for what you can aspire to be and the better of yourself being a professional. And that you realize that there's a huge difference between being a professionals and also a worker, to ensure that your scope of work is delivered in your company. So it's two different things. Eh? There are many terminologies we will learn today a little bit, and also what do you expect out of the assessment on the day of assessment? How can you prepare yourself? What can you do before, and what is expected during the assessment day? So I already introduced myself very quickly. I've been in the industry for quite some time, and actually most of my time I spent on upstream. But right now I'm looking into many other things as well. Lah, yeah. Okay. So let's talk about professional development, which is a journey. Yeah. So what is the objective of the session today is to provide you insights and expectation of technical competence, and also the leadership of being professional technologists and certified technician. That's what it means is it's not only about your own self-enrichment, but there's an expectation or responsibility of what you are entitled and what you have to bear with in being a professional technologist. It's almost taking an oath. In fact, if you need to understand what are the acts governing professional technologies, because at the end of the day, you must understand what are you walking into by you signing up and being registered as a professional technologist. You actually have a commitment, to be honest. In legal perspective, you actually have a commitment. But more than that, anything else is actually, we want to today provide you awareness on the registration and the development journey, the journey of registering yourself and the journey of actually developing yourself after the registration. So why, in the first place, the MBOT was enacted in the Act of Parliament, and why that the registration being professional technologies is being promoted, the likes of MOXI as a TEP, yeah, Technology Expert Panel. We have other TEP also. Just now, technologist Hisham, he mentioned about IMM. So IMM is another TEP in the industry, oil and gas industry. So at the end of the day, we want enhancing the potential of individuals. Yeah? So today is about individuals. It's about you. It's not about which company you work for, what is the job grade you have, and all that. But it is more about you. So your intrinsic and extrinsic values, and also your value system within yourself. That's what the focus of the being professional technologists. And by you focusing on yourself and continue to focus on developing on yourself, then there's a expectation that you increase the opportunities for yourself in various angles, which we will look in it very shortly. Now, during the COVID-19, many of us has gone through various challenges. For some, it is a challenges of actually just staying home. For some, has been a more severe one, yeah, finding livelihood. Some actually got promotion, some became unemployed. Yeah, some was the gainers, some were actually losing sight of the business. So there are various different scale of problem that we all have gone through. But no matter at what level that it is that you have gone through, I think the professional journey and development, I think is intact. So as long as we committed to become, professionals, or you call it industry patrons. So no matter which discipline you come into, and it's so important for you to continuously develop yourself. Why it is that you want to remain relevant in the industry, in the context of society, and in the context of the economy. So you have to be ensuring that you stay relevant in timely manner. So therefore, the professional registration is also becoming one of the very key component of you continuously developing yourself. Now, employment in a company, like what you say, let me get my pointer. So employment that you can see, which is often is about employment ladder, right? Which is very often we have seen, whether technical ladder, commercial ladder. We even have a what do you call it, uh, adjacent ladders also nowadays, which is actually zigzag lah, trying to get different level. So these are all job description which abide by company policies and procedures. But when you become a professional late, I'm sure many of you, it could be that you're already a professional registered with the BM, which you have, called the engineer, IR. So that means it's quite easy for you to understand the meaning of being professional. So typically in a common professional registration system, we do have an initial professional development before the registration, which I think MBOT haven't enforced that yet. In fact, you can consider today briefing is your before professional registration awareness as a professional development. In fact, in many other system in Europe, there's an opportunity for IPD. Even IEM also do that as well. Yeah. Then once you register, we have CPD. What is CPD? Continuous professional development. I think, to be honest, the core of ensuring that it's not only about getting the assessment done and being the professionals by being registered with MBOT, but more importantly, how do you practice it? And sometimes self-policing is okay, but no, being human beings, sometimes self-policing doesn't work. We will still need a motivation. So the motivation come here to actually monitor you in order for you continuously committing for continuous professional development. We call it CPD. So, as we talked about employment and company policy and procedure, let's look into a different level, on the top here, where you become professionally registered in any profession of your choice. Of course, this is your individual journey. And then you practice the CPD as the way to commit yourself to improve yourself continuously. And actually, it also indirectly relate to your JD, because you enrich your JD. If it is constipated way, then you show the professional journey of yourself, and hopefully others around you that's, trying can see you yourself as well. So then you have endorsement by legal act that govern your professional status, and it become an often a gauge to standardize and monitor the standard of professional competence. Very importantly, your commitment and conduct. So in today's world, actually, there's no lack of information, there is no lack of training, there is no lack of opportunity to become competent. But what really lack in today's environment is actually the conduct. So that is why I think it's very, for me, I think that area is more important than anything else. We can develop the competency in various ways. The ruler system, having the assessment to understand where you technically lack. And that's all actually doable. But what is more important is to make sure, in a way, we are driven to see the value of not only value but committing ourselves, and in a way that we conduct ourselves. So we will talk about conduct a lot more detail later. Then eventually, throughout the way you have been practicing company policies and procedure, now you're going to look into much higher professional status in terms of looking into the commitment to the act that govern professionals and professional status. Yeah. So I think this one I will skip. It's a little bit about program that you wanted to talk about. So what happens here is that the moment your employment JD that comes into the picture, and how do you deliver your work, That's one part. And that is only talking about how do you relate to the company, right? Because at the end of the day, as an employee, the value is employer realizes your deliverables to the assigned roles and assigned task. But what more than that is actually you are a very, auspicious and beautiful mind that can actually develop yourself further than that. So how do you do that? That you need to start to see how this component work together. So that is why CPD and SAIL is one of the program established by many, some of us, including myself and Mr. Yo. So, I mean, any other suitable development program, technical program, it can be also a program where you have a group of people get together, having a working group. That's also can work for you. So we talk about it later. But the CPD should work for you. CPD, continuous professional development, which we will talk about it more later on. So these three must work together for you to at least enhance the competency and also your core values, which is the conduct. So now I think this is something that all of you may be very, very familiar. Yeah, the human need hierarchy, Maslow theory, which is something that many of you kind of should be well aware. So in a way, what we are looking at is physiological safety and love is a basic one. Esteem is actually how you reflect yourself, how do you respect yourself, and you put yourself among the society, right? So the highest echelon of the hierarchy is the self-actualization. So in self-actualization is about connecting your body, mind, soul, and spirit together, where it's not only about you delivering work and getting paid. In fact, in many of the discussion we actually in the sales program too, even small as the ant, small ant that is created in this world actually know how to find food. We don't have to teach them, so they know how to find food. So the biggest struggle when you reach certain level is actually the self actualization. So we hope that for you to participate and commit yourself as a professional and continue to practice a CPD, you kind of have fit into the elevation of yourself into more focus on self actualization, which is actually where the highest hierarchy of your self development holistically. Let me see next slide. Okay. So, in the self-actualization, in the wheel of life, we talk about wheel of life. We have so many needs in terms of satisfying ourselves. So, we have the need in terms of love, family, social and friends. Health is very, very important. Finance, business, self-image. How do I, for example, Anua, I image myself to be? I mean, am I happy with myself? So spiritual, for those who are very much into spiritual, it is also very important. Personal growth and contribution. This triangle, the tangent in this area is all helping you for self-actualization in more contextual. So this is so important. So that is why the personal growth here highlighted is one of the key element of self-actualization. Next. So how do you connect these two? Is that when you are registered as a professional and you commit yourself that you're going to make yourself, you're going to treat yourself seriously, you're going to pay attention to yourself seriously. That is actually a commitment, self-commitment, and this is a fundamental of actually having the professional status. In any way that you look into the professional status is only when the person committed. We have seen also that people registered, they become professionally accredited, registered. That's all about it. And then after that, for them, it's just about chasing the CPD hours and so on. Hopefully, through the journey that all of you go through this assessment and getting to know people who are behind this, hopefully you start to see the value of it, value of you doing it. Actually, otherwise the title doesn't carry anything. It's just a mere another title. But what it is happen is that what do you do with the title and how do you look into yourself seriously? Your commitment, what it really matters. Yeah. So now, some of the important question to ask ourselves is what is my role as professional technologist or certified technician in the society or in the nation? So, engineers and technologists in various lenses. Let's have a look into it. Usually, I think many of you talk about sustainability in many ways. I think some of you probably in the department dealing with sustainability. So, in whether you are a company or individual, sustainability is about whether you are able to balance yourself in dealing with your responsibility. So that's what sustainability means. For example, if I have a company that I can make tons of money as a company, but I don't really able to make the environment bear with me, society bear with me, and being responsible economically means contributing to the economic needs of the country and so on. Then that means it's not sustainable. So then it is question of whether the professionals should be where they should fit in. So we as professional, we should strive to fit in here as individuals and also the engines of the company who can actually ensure that the corporation that we work for can strive to be here too. That means we are equitable, bearable, and viable. So we are able to balance our responsibility to the society, environment, and also the economics. So the three pillar. So that is why the engineers and technologists in various lenses, you ensure you look into all these three lenses. So otherwise, it's non-sustainable and dealing with the sustainability, then you got SDG goals. So hopefully, before the assessment, try, at least try to understand why we need to have SDG and what is the basis of people came up with these goals. Why are there only 17? And how does we all of us contextually fit into the 17? At least one or two. In fact, you don't have to be the general manager or senior general manager, CEO or CTO to be in order to contribute to the 17 goals. Each and every habitant in this world actually at their own way can contribute to one or two or three or any of these and try to understand how do you fit into this SDG commitment. How you, at your work and at your as a person means what do you do after work that contribute to this. So we will, drill deeper in the discussion later during the assessment. I think this is something, an expectation for you to understand. The last thing is you're already a professional technology. When people talk about, hey, what is sustainability? You can't even, you don't even understand what is sustainability. You not only not able to explain, but you cannot inhale it and live a life that actually you can contribute to SDG. I think that's the worrisome part of it. Then the title carry no value actually. So next, so being a technologist, I think we all probably from a technical domain. In fact, even if you do deal with cost and contract, is eventually a technical matter. So there's always a role technology and innovation play as a whole, in many in various perspective, in governance perspective, in sustainability, how to achieve sustainability, make it, and the effectiveness of work, efficiency in your workplace, and deliverance at your workplace, quality at your workplace, dealing with your customer, or dealing with delivering your works to those who in need. So in any context, technology and innovation play an important role. So we, being technologists and certified technicians, play a very important role to make sure the technology and innovation that we are dealing today and is really in the context of the right kind of onset in solving the right problem in the boundary of sustainability we talked about. So that's why the technology and innovation play a very key role in ensuring that we can continue sustainably delivering energy solution as far as oil and gas concerned. So, talking about career ladder and but thinking of the career ladder in a normal mode, this is a very common one, like this happened. But I think many organization is changing to even the HR practices and the way that they see the people as an asset and how the asset should be handled also changing. But in many organizations still remain the same. The career ladder is about competing with each other and then eventually trying to find that spot that make you elevated, make you shine, and make you climb the ladder. And that's one thinking. And the thinking that we are trying to approach through a professional registration is to create our own space. And how do we do that? Is to create a new structure where actually everybody have an equal opportunity. It's just a matter of whether you wanting to do and don't want to do. That's why we talk about commitment. It's for you to be the role model to your organization and eventually enhance your career path by yourself and by looking into your own self rather than competing with others. So you become a benchmark of whether you are happy with yourself, your value system is okay and intact. You can commit to the value system and you can continue to commit to improve yourself. Yeah, that is the way you're thinking. That means what happening is that instead of ladder, you got the whole bunch of a gate, whether you want or don't want. That's it. Yes or no. So once it's open, all of you are actually able to go the trajectory of your own way, trajectory that you make your own self. So there shouldn't be a boundary of how many people can go up the ladder. This ladder maybe can climb one person at a time. It shouldn't be like that, and that's why the professional journey become a way to unlock the constipated look into career development. Yeah. So in doing so, what are we dealing with, and who are the ecosystem? How is the ecosystem work? So we got registration, professional registration here. MBOT just register you. That's it. It's almost like you take a thick book of record and register you as a professional because of your commitment. You wanted to, so it's registered. That means you also have certain competency, lah, of course. Your requirement to be a professionally registered, your degree, the number of years of you worked, your resume has been already screened by you attending today's talk. Your resume is pretty much okay, so you're qualified to be professionally registered. The assessment is just to ensure that there's no, you have the right mindset and your expectation is correct. And it is a professional assessment. It is not a job interview. And all of us are not there to tell you, whether this equation, Stokes equation, or whether the first law a new first law of thermodynamic, second law, third law, which one is should be applied for certain problem. No, that's not the problem. That's not the point. The point is a professional assessment. It's about looking into you as what have you been committed so far as a professional to your profession, and what are you intend to do, to see whether you have the right mindset to become a professional. I think that's all about it. And professional institutions such as IEM, in fact, I have the long list of professional institution. I'll show you in the later slide. This is where you can actually practice. You're going to see thousands of people like yourself, or at least in a discipline few hundred people like yourself, where you interact, you exchange information, exchange the aspiration, exchange your passion towards the commitment of CPD. And professional network, of course, a group of people. In fact, we have a few thousand already of technologists and certified technicians right now. And I think oil and gas itself is exceeding more than 1,000, I believe, easily. So within the MBOT, we have done, including myself and the peers, we have done for more than deal with 350 people, and all of them are actually in the registered and interact very closely with each other. And we have continuously have programs and, initiative and so on. So you join the network. So that's what I think, I guess, is mean here. So let's look into the CPDs. Yeah. So we talked about company policy already. We know the ladder. So now the code of professional conduct, like I said, you got the competency and conduct. So the more relevancy of registering you is actually to ensure that you really commit and live by the conduct. So because you can change company today, I have been working for many companies, but I stay as Anwar, and my value system doesn't change. But the company has changed many times, and the value system of the company was differing depending on their ecosystem where they work and the company aspiration and the vision and mission. But we as individuals, we need to have a code of our professional conduct. We have a code, for example, in a religion, we have a religious value we need to follow. So as a professional, we need to have a conduct also. My profession most likely is going to be the same. I'm known as a petroleum engineer for many years. I can have a different title in the company, but I'm always an engineer by background and technologies in the work that I do. So I need to have a code of professional conduct. And that's what is the main element of what it brings to the table by registration. Yeah. So let's look at comparative view and what we are dealing with. So in terms of hierarchy of professional registration, the oldest one in the country after the independence is Akta Pendaftaran Jurutera 1967. So where the Board of Engineers was established by this Akta. Akta is usually approved in Parliament lah, right? So on the right side, fairly decently that Akta Technologies Dan Technician was created in 2015, and subsequently 2 years later only MBOT was established. So it's quite recent. It's not that many years ago. 2 years before COVID-19 is when MBOT officially started to function, and we have a plenty of professional technology. So it's quite a bit of time, way to go. But a lot of experienced professionals are the one who behind this MBOT lah. So we know, I mean, the people behind MBOT, they know how to bring it onward. So why we need MBOT? That's a good question. So I don't know whether that question will be an assessment, but anyway, to give an overview, Board of Engineers was really recognizing the people who are actually engineers. Yeah, the qualification such as the engineering degree and so on and so forth. We realized that actually more than anything else, more than the engineering profession, technologies by application, we are talking about application science here, application applying, for example, digital technologies. Yeah, so that's that itself, which is computer science. Yeah? This is a technology. We have a different functional group of applying technologies and people who is actually technologies. So there we expand the scope beyond engineering degree, yeah, technical discipline and technical degrees also. For example, BTech, for example, Bachelor of Technology. It's also recognized. And very importantly, more than degree, we also recognize diploma and certificate too, where the technicians who actually play a very important role, they are actually the executors. They are the people who actually make the application and practices actually happen. They work with technologies very well in doing so. So therefore, they are also the scope is expanded to recognize all these individuals because they are part and parcel of the ecosystem of the whole, which is the technologies and technician as a whole. So IEM, or as a practicing house, yeah, it's an institution. An institution means you practice there. Yeah, BEM just register you as a graduate engineer, for example, which is actually required by law for you to practice as an engineer. So now as a technologist, it's also required by law if you want to be practicing in technology, but as a technologist, in many of you in upstream, even production technologies is considered technologies. I think it's very resemble very closely to them, right? So MBOT, the TEPs slightly different from IEM. We don't have fully established institution, empowered singular institution like IEM, but we have TEPs because more of a practical application. It's an application science. So we have oil and gas applied, we have a semiconductor industry applied, aerospace applied. So therefore, MOXIE represent oil and gas TEP, technology expert panel, oil and gas technology. We call it oil and gas technology. No matter what kind of application, we call it oil and gas technology, right? Another broader one, and I say in the same category of TEP, we have MISET, Malaysia Society of Engineers and Technology, a bit wider, where lecturers, you can even join MySet after this. Of course, we have MOU between Moxie and MySet now. You all can join MySet quite easily and try to extend the same benefit of you are getting through the Moxie, and we will assist you to ensure that you can practice further. So here, I already talked about only engineering degree, here PhD and below. And then is IR, and we have a acronym for it is TSDC. So competence and commitment. Yeah. In the assessment later, the assessment framework was actually adopted from Engineering Council of UK on a very similar note. So many of the content was evolved and developed from Engineering Council of UK. In terms of more focus on competence and commitment, where the commitment is actually really the key of looking into your what do you call it, values. So therefore, the A, B, and C, like I already mentioned, you attending the assessment, to be honest, you should be fit. You should be already crossed the bridge lah that you have certain level of knowledge. all your qualifications already intact and already evaluated, and your resume already screened. We have your resumes too. We can read and we can understand. So we want to see your role and your potential and what you've been doing, dealing with your commitment in terms of commitment D and E, and also C, which is resemble these values, right? So the general values, which I say that anybody can develop if you go into the right kind of training, right kind of personnel development, then it's general values. The core professional values is what really we want to drill deeper in the assessment later, which is C, D, and E. So if the previous slide, the commitment is coming from D and E. Yeah, the core professional values is C, D, and E. Yeah. So be prepared. I will share very simple pocket guides on what does it mean by A, B, C, D, and E. You can even go into the MBOT website to understand more, but I can share the pocket guidelines. You can even go to Engineering Council of UK. They have a very comprehensive way of looking into what does it mean, what are the examples, what does it mean to individuals, how this is being viewed by when you professionally registered. What are the criterias to tell that your which level of interpersonal skill you are, and so on. For example, you can see, just give a simple analogy here. Professional conduct. Professional conduct means a code of full of code of ethics. So you need to understand the framework of your working, and also, of course, this is ethics and value is not something that you can pass in examination. It's actually what you do when you do work, because nobody's watching you. It's up to you. But at the end of the day, your awareness is also important in terms of whether you understand the act related to you. Employment Act, Technologies Act, the regulatory framework that you work. For example, DOSH. What does it related to you? And various type of other acts lah, for example. And so these are all you need to understand. And finally, the integrity values, which is the code of conduct. So you have to make sure you go through MBOT website, try to understand what are the code of conduct, but what are the code of conduct that is a proponent in the MBOT. Yeah. So the code of conduct like professionalism, excellence, integrity, yeah, benevolence, all this you try to understand lah. So we want to discuss that more with you, trying to give, try to make sure that what do you understand out of that rather than reading to us. Of course, it's up to you. You can have the entire book with you because it's all done online. But at the end of the day, that's not the point. The point is just want to understand what does it mean to you? That's so that we want to understand you better. Yeah. So in terms of professional conduct, which is the E, so example will be code of and rules of conduct, which is available for you to read. So the code of ethics and general knowledge of the ACTA and so on and so forth. So how do you understand, managing the safe system at work? So safety is very important part in oil and gas. Also, of course, in all other industry. How do you commit yourself? How do you behave yourself? Not necessarily at a work where there are so many posters around you to follow. What happened after the work? Are you having, similar aptitude of your safety consciousness even after work? That just and how do you see the safety element become very important part of your life. Sustainable development. People always give a lot of good answers, but all of it are not your answers, your company answers. As I say, it's an individual. It's nothing so much about your company. You may have a company which have a lot of initiative of sustainable development. That's fine. But what does it mean to you, and what do you do actually? What is your role? And even without company, can you do something about it? So that's the kind of things they want to know. And then CPD, personal planning, try to understand what do you plan to do after the being professionally registered. What are the areas you want to improve yourself, and so on and so forth. So those are the kind of discussion you will have, eh? So I have compared a mapping against the framework of ECUK, Engineering Council of UK. Engineering Council of UK also, in terms of the core value, we talked about the core professional values and general values, right? The way that has been mapped is your knowledge, skill, and attitude. So as I said, attitudes like integrity and all that is related to attitude. It's always something that cannot be graded and tell who had a better integrity and less integrity. There's no way you can tell that. But through the discussion, hopefully we can understand lah, what do you really understand by that, and whether you have the right awareness about those things. So in this area, in terms of responsibility, your leadership commitment, and interpersonal skill and communication, and then eventually your commitment. What are your commitment? Whether are you committing to the society, committing to your profession, committing to the code of conduct. The company code of conduct is when you are working, right? But if you are not working, what do? You don't have any conduct to refer to? Yeah, that's a kind of question. So if you don't work, so where do you refer to? What is the code of conduct being a professional? Are you saying that, if I'm not belong to a company, or if I'm freelancing, am I not a petroleum engineer? So am I not a professional technologist? Am I not a production engineer or production technologist? So if I am, what is my code of conduct? So that should be there. So this is all how. So in terms of institution of your discipline, for example, let's say I'm in certain specific discipline related to materials. So and then there are so many institutions that you can sign up with, not limited to Malaysia. It's actually global. For me, practicing for actually not only for me, for all of us, practicing professional is nothing to do with the region or country. It's about the profession. So this profession celebrated throughout the world in the way that it is, and the discipline is the same. So you can even register to many of the organization in Malaysia or abroad, doesn't matter. But please ensure that you having a house to practice, which is an institution that you belong to. So registration is a bit of a big part of it, but after registration, what happens is more important. So this is something that we want to talk about, and not only during assessment, but also after assessment lah, that we all will be assisting each other to get through. So in gist, the benefits of a professional registration provide you a benchmark to the public, at least by having going through the assessment. We, of course, we cannot guarantee 100% that all of you, all of those who are registered is competent. That's not possible. We are nowhere close to monitor the ruler to make sure you answer all the questions right. That's not the point. But it still give a benchmark that the people are committing to conduct and professionally develop themselves. So it's a benchmark that you are supposed to be competent. And that is important in fact, sometimes it can be handy for employment, but not necessarily. But sometimes it's more than employment lah, the way I see it. A benchmark to select certain people, a group of people to do some initiative. So that's when these are all become very important. Maintain knowledge, skill, and commitment. So at least you have a way to gauge yourself, a way that you are belong to certain community, to gauge each other, to commit yourself to improve your knowledge. Skill, yeah, this is another way to look into it. Demonstrate the commitment to professional standards. So now it's saying that no matter you're freelancer, whether you belong to company A, B, small company or Fortune 500 company, doesn't matter. Your commitment to professional standard is the same because you are committing by professional value system and code of conduct. So it's going to be the same. Shouldn't be a different. In fact, it's the same for professional technologies and certified technician too. So this all become a commitment that people appreciate when it comes to society lah. So eventually, with all that, it's supposed to enhance status, the professional status. Bukan status jadi VIP. It's not that once you have a title, you got all the valet parking for free. So this is a status that tells you that you have a credibility. Credibility means the responsibility, and you are supposed to, promote integrity and uphold justice, uphold the value system in workplace to make sure what is right and what is wrong or whatsoever. So those aspect it is expected from you. Not to say that your professional technologies, you see something going on right in front of your eyes and you don't care. That means the system failed and the professional registration didn't work with you. At least not only you avoiding, but you must also voice out opinion and continuously improve the system together with the rest of the practitioners in the industry or in the society to make sure that what we can correct what is wrong, or make a system which is foolproof so that we have less mistakes or less issues related to code of values being breached. And finally, the regulatory authorities lah, they know that sometime nowadays everybody talking about self-policing. Even Dosh also going towards that. So in self-policing system, this become more important because in self-policing, it really driven down to individuals whether they want to comply, they want to tell the truth, and they want to continuously adopt. They just want to do reporting to be shining and nice so that they can walk away with the commitment. That's the difference. So in order to go towards that, these are all very important. So this is just about the remaining very personal thing, like belong to network of experts. In fact, I give you one example. Sometime I had problems recently in offshore, actually, dealing with technology application. So many people and expert in the WhatsApp group. I logged in 9 o'clock morning. I say, hey, hi all. Thank you so much. Sorry to disturb your Sunday morning. I have problem. Do you guys have some solution? Immediately, it's not only solution, what to do. Contact on who to approach, and who are the people who can throw lifeline in terms of giving the certain technical recommendation. So that's how it is. You have immediate pool of expert to work with. It's really fantastic. It's much more than the Google. Google, I think, it's very difficult to make it up, lah. But this is very powerful uh, network of expert that you want to belong to. That's a very important game. So CPD, again, is about yourself. It's not a system to actually punish you and so on and so forth. But of course, you need the CPD commitment a year. I think it's 36 hours or 24 hours, but you can look up into the system for different, for example, professional technology is different from a certified technician. But if you cannot commit to have the CPD by right, dilucutkan lah, you cannot continue to practice because CPD is the heart of it. But more than anything else, CPD is not about attending a class. That's not the point. CPD is giving a comprehensive view how you should groom yourself. Example, if you become a mentor to a group of individuals within your work organization, but you must register in the system lah. There's a way to register. So then you're actually experiencing it. Now you're unconsciously, I'm mentoring officially, even though it is probably not an employer wish. Of course, your CEO doesn't tell you to do that, but you're doing it because you are professionally registered. But that itself gives you a lot of credibility. And I'm just giving a CPD of a mentorship because I want to be different than just simply attending a course. Don't misunderstand. Attending a course is just one small part of it. For example, you initiate a working group within your organization, attending a very important meeting, presenting a paper. Say you research into something, and then you're finding you are presenting, and then that is now elevated to become professionally accredited. So this is how you maintain. And there's a very long guideline on CPD alone, which we will brief, and you will get to know a lot more during assessment as well as post assessment. Yeah. So in terms of process, I'm sure you have seen this process already, but I said right now you are still called graduate technologies lah, because you haven't gone through the application of the assessment yet. So once you call graduate technologies, means your qualification is sufficient. But in order to go through the assessment, your working experience must be sufficient. You have the right kind of context, the resume. You have done all areas in your workplace in order to be qualified for assessment. So you are here already. So the next thing going to happen is that if the assessment is completed and you find fit now, sometimes doesn't mean that if you're not fit now, you're not fit at all. If you're not fit now, there's always only about 2 to 3 outcome lah. Either not fit now or deferred for another assessment because want to reevaluate more, couldn't really see where you're coming from, or MBOT has started to practice portfolio. Follow through work is after assessment because couldn't understand you very well. Now you're giving a more time and more, a little bit of more work to articulate yourself better. That's a post assessment work. When that is but that is not for everybody lah. If we find need going to help you to make you express better, then we do it. Otherwise, we don't have to. So once that is complete, then we will provide the recommendation to MBOT to adopt the recommendation. In fact, the final jurisdiction is under the MBOT board of the MBOT to decide whether you are accepted to be registered as a professional technologist. Same goes for qualified technician too. Very similar. The process is absolutely the same, except for very small tweaking in terms of the evaluation, the assessment criteria, because of the grade of the qualification difference in terms of qualification, and also the scope of work also differs slightly. But the commitment is the same, no different. Commitment, code of conduct, values, all same because you're still individual committing to a law. But what different is the competency. That's the difference here. So in terms of law here, there's certain applicable fee and so on and so forth. So the assessment you are here, the brown color here. Once the assessment is completed, then the decision is by the board whether to accept you or not. So then once accepted, then you become a certified technician once you pay the fee and so on lah. So every year you have a commitment to go from here onwards. This to maintain the position, you got to have a CPD commitment lah, which we can talk about it later. I think not so important now. So that's all about just giving you a brief. So what will happen next is we can have a Q&A. Yeah. So during the Q&A, please ask any question you have, maybe another 15 minutes or so. Otherwise, the assessment is 45 minutes, I already mentioned just now. The attire, you can have like today myself, I just with a shirt. I mean, it's up to you. I leave the flexibility. So as long as color is not striking, difficult to even see you. We have, proper attire lah. That's all I can say. And make sure you are audible. Make sure you're prepared. Your computer all already fixed. Don't do the computer thingy right in the assessment. You want to have a proper assessment, so maybe try your computer all before the assessment, and make sure you are well prepared. Don't try to, now it's time to ask question, but not during the assessment, ask what is MOXIE, or I mean, MOXIE is just an organization. What is important? What is CPD? Please don't do that. Please try to understand what are you walking into. If you need more time, excuse yourself. We can go through another assessment, a different assessment. Take your time. No need to rush. The MBOT will be always there, and hopefully me or other colleagues will be there to evaluate you. Nothing going to go away. Take your time to understand what are you walking into. And then finally, that in the group, everyone will have ample opportunity. There is no need to compete. It is not a competition. It's about understanding you, and you also enjoy the session and to take away something at the end of the session. Not only about accessing, but also you learn something through the assessment. Okay, so with that, let's go through a Q&A. Before the Q&A, we have a IR Hisham just now, myself, Anwar, and then third assessor is Ahmad Shuha. So Shuha, you want to have a few simple, just once you introduce now, every 45 minutes, no need to introduce lah. So we save all the time by introducing now. Okay, Shuha, yeah, go ahead.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Thank you TS Anwar for your very good presentation and also very informative guideline for the assessment that to be conducted on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I hope everybody learn something from today awareness session and prepare yourself for the interview, for the assessment. And as TS Anwar said earlier, this is not a job interview, and this is not competing among yourself. When we conduct the assessment, we want to know you, and we want to know whether you will be commit to the registrant as TS or TC, and what you will benefit from it. Thank you, and good luck. All the best to you.
Thank you, thank you. So please log in early, but not too early. It's up to you. But do not enter the room until your slot. I think I've seen the WhatsApp group. All of you have your own slot. Some of you have some predicament related to slot. You can call Sophia or me personally. I know some of you, actually, I want to openly talk a little bit. I think some of you have reached Sophia. we want to be together. Please, the intention of the assessment is not only to assess you, as I say. We also want you to learn something. If you associate yourself to the one that you already know, your ability to explore is limited. You might want to know somebody who you never known before. And what is the point of view of that person? Then you probably will learn something new. So that is actually an aspiration of the assessment itself. So please, accommodate that and allow that process to happen lah. So don't worry, all of you going to be together in this big mission. So I guess I think it's beneficial to you. So I think that's basically my answer lah for those who want to be together in the same group and all that. Let the grouping happen automatically. Enjoy the process. Eventually, believe me, you will appreciate the assessment at the end of the day. Even though the fear is normal before going to assessment, but let's give a try. Give a try to yourself and try to explore and expose yourself. Please give enough exposure. If you limit within your small group of people you have known, it's a very limited exposure. Yeah, so that's the answer to those who want to get into certain group and all that. Unless you have some problem related to want to enter, suddenly go to offshore. You got to travel on Saturday, so you got to do on Friday. So that's all okay. We will try our best to re-slot you to make sure we swap around the people. I'm sure all of you accommodative and big-hearted people, so can easily, you can consider people who are in a critical position lah, or family emergency. Okay, tak boleh buat tiba-tiba tak jadi. You want to swap with Sunday, no problem. We can entertain all that, but with the right valid reasons. Medical reason, work-related matters are all okay. You can message Sophia by WhatsApp. We will try to do the adjustment. Okay, any question? Chat box also can, raise your question. You want to raise your hand and talk, verbalize it here also can. Please go ahead. Anyone, any question, please? Semua macam ready for assessment, confirm, terror ni. Any question from anyone related to, no matter what it is, whether it's assessment related, or even if you have some general question related to professional journey, or why you still haven't get the context of why you need for me, then it's okay. Please go ahead, ask. This is your opportunity to discuss.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Tuan Anwar. This is Asfa.
Assalamualaikum, Nazri.
This is Asfa.
Yeah, Asfa, is it?
Yeah. Tuan,
Okay.
just a quick check from you. How many sets of assessment will there be tomorrow?
Sorry?
How many
assessment
will there be during the interview?
Okay. You are actually a bunch of very lucky people. Right now, there's only one assessment. But MBOT also keep on upgrading the way they do assessment lah. So maybe after this, there will be written assessment before coming to the verbal assessment too. So for right now, there's only one assessment. Yes, this is the only assessment that you will have to go through right now.
Okay. It is a verbal assessment, right?
Yeah, this is a verbal assessment in a structured questions. As I said, right after the discussion today, I will share the pocket guides for you on what to expect and so on. Very simple guide. It's just about 1 hour to see the guide, and hopefully you prepare accordingly. And based on the guide, you can go and find out everything from Google lah. Everything, almost all. Yeah.
Can you share inside WhatsApp group as well? Because
Yes.
Because I will be traveling to PD after this.
Okay, we will share actually in the WhatsApp group. Going forward, most of the communication will be done in WhatsApp group lah, because after today, probably left 2 to 3 days, some of you will be traveling. So we will usually communicate in WhatsApp group.
All right, thank you.
Okay, maybe
You're
I just
welcome,
may
Asma.
add. I just want to add that basically in terms of assessment, just to actually add on that you are basically been filtered. That your first line of assessment basically is your CV. When you submit your CV, we basically assess you to see that you are basically eligible to actually be upgraded to become professional technologist or certified technician. So once that be done, then there's what been mentioned by TS Anwar, that you actually go for the verbal or oral assessment. Okay, the written assessment currently is been waived. Okay, so basically as what Tia Sanwa said, you are lucky because if you wait longer, then probably you have to go through the written assessment. And this is also, again, is good for you to actually tell your colleague, okay, tell your subordinate to do it now rather than to do it much later, because as you go later, then basically more assessment requirement required. Okay.
Okay,
And
noted. Thank you.
Hisham will be assessing your written assessment. So you better watch out lah. So you tell your colleague. Oh,
Maybe I just
Anna,
want to add.
there's
I
one
just
more
want to
raised
add
hand.
on. Okay, yeah, you ask first question. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Syam. Go ahead dulu.
Okay,
You want to
basically,
follow up, please?
what I wanted to say regarding the many of you engineering practitioner as well as technical practitioner, you will be actually asking what the difference between BM and MBOT. Okay, I think that's a common question. A lot of people actually will be asking why you actually join MBOT versus BM or BM against MBOT and so on. So actually, if you look into it, in terms of the organization, okay, they are basically governed by or affiliate with ACOTs. Okay, I'm not sure whether you've heard about ACOT, Washington ACOT actually for engineers. Okay, and then if you're talking about engineering technologies, Sydney ACOT, and also Dublin ACOT is for the engineering technician. Okay, so that's where for the board of engineers, they have basically 3 levels of registration. Starting with professional engineer, then you go down to engineering technologies as well as IOW, inspector of work. Okay, and then where else MBOT, basically they are under the sole accord, okay, and basically those who are actually on the technological practitioner can basically register. So the difference between BM and MBOT is that in terms of the qualification and registration or certification. Okay, as far as BM is concerned, you must basically having the same qualification and the same working experience. Then you can actually be eligible to be registered as professional in BM. Okay, that means if you are a mechanical engineer but you're practicing electrical item, but so then you are basically not able to register because of there's a mismatch between your qualification and your experiences. Okay, whereas for the case of MBOT, they look into the technological area. So you can be a mechanical, electrical, civil, or even accountant, but if you are in the pool of oil and gas technology, for instance, then you can basically practice that as in the technological oil and gas technological area. So these are the things which, and also one thing different to note also is that as far as BM is concerned, they only look into qualification through these 3 accords, which do not actually cater for TVET. So as far as sole accord is concerned, they are basically, so if you are a TVET practitioner, those are actually from the TVET school like the SKM, the Polytechnic and so on, you can basically register with MBOT. So again, as just now Tia Sanwa mentioned about the qualification, so in terms of MBOT, you actually start from level 3 equivalent, that basically SKM 3 or college vocational level 3 until PhD level. So basically, these are the differences. And the similarity here actually is that all professional practitioners require CPD, this continuous professional development. Why do you need CPD for all these professional requirement? I mean, practitioner. So this is something that we're going to ask you. So be prepared. So you at least look out what are the question, why you need CPD, all profession, whether you are actually a professional architect, professional quantity surveyor, professional doctor, professional engineer, as well as technologist, and certified technician, you require CPD. We'll ask you that. Be prepared. We're going to ask you a question. Why do you need that? Okay, that's all from me.
Thank you. Wah, ini soalan bocor lah ni. So he's very kind to all of you. Okay, we have question. We have a raised hand by YHS. Go ahead, siapa tu? YHS.
Hi,
Yeah, introduce
my name
yourself.
is Yong Hensun. I want to ask if this session is it recorded, because currently I'm actually in Kumama Supply Base. Actually, I'm preparing some equipment for my project. So and basically I just now I was working when you were presenting. So I tried to listen and look at the slides as much as I can, but because I need to work here because there's a third party inspector and the preparation is quite urgent. So I'm wondering if this session is it recorded, and can if it is, can it be shared so that later on when I have time I can sit down properly and listen to the whole session again?
Okay, we have a rescue for you. We had done many sessions like this. We have recorded a previous session, very same. All the points are exactly the same. I will let Sophia to just share that also lah. The reason I didn't share earlier, nanti terdatang. Then you also cannot ask question. So we have that
Yeah.
YouTube. So we share the YouTube to you. You can have a look.
That's great because it's happened that this whole week I had to travel to Kemaman to do the preparation for my project, and yeah.
No
So
problem.
yep,
It's
that would
okay.
be great. So yep. All right.
I will ask our coordinator lah, Sophia, to drop in the WhatsApp. You have a look, yeah, and then enjoy the session. Okay,
All right.
we have question from
Thanks.
Abdul. Thank you, to you. You okay anymore? You okay?
That's it. I'm fine. Thanks.
Welcome, no problem. We have Abdul Mushavir. Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum, TS Anwar, can you hear me?
Thank you. Boleh. Now can.
Thank you for your presentation. I just want to ask about the format of the assessment later on. When we start, all the candidates are given the time to introduce themselves, and then are we going to be talking about our CV in detail, or because as I understand, oil and gas itself is vast. Somebody may be coming from drilling side, completion side, or not. So are we going to get technical during our introduction, or how is it going to be? Like how
Very good question. I didn't touch that. I think usually I will touch that, but this time around, I actually forgot to touch that. Very quickly, like what we mentioned, your resume is already with us. You must understand that. I actually will brief through the resume and will know what is your background, what you have done in the past, years, which company you work for, and all that. For you to repeat that same thing, memang, I mean, it doesn't make any sense lah, to be exact. What you probably want to touch is more than the work. What do you envisage yourself to be? Try to, because it's a small, it's about 1 to 2 minutes, because we have 45 minutes. We got a lot more to discuss about yourself than what you've done before. So try to maximize the time for yourself to expand your horizon, to talk about, how do you, for example, in terms of what do you believe in, for example, what you are trying to, what is your aspiration, what you are trying to do in your profession, for example. So those are all something we don't normally write in the resume lah. Resume is technical, right? Very straight to the detail. But obviously, if you want to mention some of the thing related to resume, is okay. But you might be exploring some new frontier, important technology for the whole world. I don't know. Maybe you want to mention that. But again, that's what resume we already screened. For you to mention the same thing about resume, really practically no use. But of course, it's normally, of course, it's good to you to tell your name and all the basic thing first lah. But other than that, no need to tell the whole how many company you work for and all that, how many, all those are available in resume.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, or have something to say? Yeah.
I would like to add that I emphasized earlier that this assessment is not a job interview. So it's good to know what you do recently, but you don't have to elaborate everything.
Yeah.
Just 1 or 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank you.
Noted. Thank you very much.
So we have Musafir, go ahead. Say something.
Thank you very much for the explanation.
Yeah, about 1 to 2 minutes per person aja for introduction. So you got 4, already 8 minutes lah. So then we want to go for assessment reading, right?
Okay. So in terms of the assessment, the questions will not be related that much based on our CV and experiences. It will just be more on the aspirations of the professional technologies itself.
If you remember A, B, C, D, E,
Yeah.
A and B, okay, related to resume and your work and so on. C, D, and E is not related to your resume pretty much. More for professional, how do you understand the professional? It's normally not written in resume.
Correct.
So those are the questions will be, we will be coming into that. A framing question. Framing question means to understand the frame of your mind.
Okay. All right. Understand.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdul Musafir. Nazri, we got question from Nazri.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening.
Waalaikumsalam.
our panel interview. My name is Nazri. I recall that TS Anwar had mentioned about Engineering Council UK, the assessment frameworks. I believe this is similar to the chartered engineer routes. And is there any future MBOT to apply this? That means if you want to apply for the chartered, you have to be assessed on this all the 5 pillars of the frameworks. And the pillar are like the knowledge, the application practice, leadership, interpersonal and professional conducts. And this is to explain on how you achieve, on the what level you are achieved. So currently this is not part of the MBOT. And is there any in the future that this is going to be implemented? TS Anwar.
It's very difficult for me to represent MBOT to answer this. But how would I put it? The similarities are there for sure. But at the end of the day, I think the aspiration of both bodies are quite different in a way. So while it may be helping you, for example, I myself now, just also getting through charter engineering for other institution. And in fact, I want to get into some other institution, which I think I like much, not on a core petroleum engineering, but something else, marine and so on. So, but that's all separate matter, right? But for MBOT, as far as it concerned, so far there's no cross transformation of what do you call it, the transfer, how do I put it, but the other way around, yes. But I think to be fair, like IMRS also, they do have some of the institution I listed just now. I listed about 36 over institution just now in my slide. Out of that, there are some institution, they have a close collaboration with IEM, and where they recognize the professional journey as a chartered engineer that lead to a professional status of being what do you call it, IR. That one, yes, I know. But MBOT, so far, I never known anything, unless Hisham have anything on that.
Yeah, basically, similarly, just now I did mention about the accords. Okay, so EC UK basically are looking into, they are following the Washington, Sydney, and Dublin Accord. So in terms of MBOT, we are basically following the Seoul Accord. So there are differences in accord. Okay, so there are different in qualification requirement. Therefore, they may actually have differences in terms of mapping and mutual agreement. Okay, but we are not sure about the future. But at this point of time, okay, what we can see is that there are differences in the qualification requirement and differences in terms of the assessment requirement as well. So for time being, I would say that as far as what Tia Sanwa mentioned is that for the IEM basically comply to the Washington, Sydney, and Dublin Accord. So this is where there are going to be a situation whereby MBOT may not actually be able to integrate with ECUK, okay, for this for timing because of the qualification requirement. Okay, that's what I can say.
Thank you. That come to lead to my second question, which is as what been mentioned by T.S. Anwar, that the assessment were more focused on the core professional value, the C, D, and E. So this is going to be touch base during our interview on the Friday, Saturday, and how we relate our experience, which is not been captured inside our CV. Am I correct? Okay. So that lead to that question, which in the future to ease the assessor, especially because the way I see that you have to handle like 50, 60 peoples at one time. So is there any in the future that they need to do this self-assessment first, submit to the MBOT for you to verify, and it will be easier for you during the assessment?
Actually, to be exact, it is what you are saying is exactly what being practiced by many institutions in the UK. There is a self-preparation chart, even CPD planning. CPD plan, as far as CPD plan, they are quite a structured CPD plan you have to submit. In fact, the assessment also pretty much in a written assessment you have to submit also. But I think like what Hisham and I mentioned, after this, most likely the written assessment will include that. Then you're going to have that for coming in. For right now, because of the recentness of this whole thing, I think that we are taking it a step by step. I'm just, when I say we, means MBOT lah. MBOT taking a step by step. But I think in future, it could be a high possibility that that written assessment will include, and that written assessment will be used as a reference.
I think that's all. Thank you, gentlemen, for your valuable answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much to you too. It says is it just now, YHA, Yo, is it right? Yo. Anyone else? Or maybe he forgot to drop his hand. Lower hand lah. Okay, right. I lower his hand already. Oh, he raised it. Faiz, yes, Faiz. Encik Faiz, you raise your hand.
You have to unmute, Faiz.
Maybe you're trying to talk, but you're in mute.
Okay. TS Hisham and TS Anwar, I have one simple question. During the assessments, is for example, is any question you will be asking regarding our experience, but not in the CV? Is it we can give one examples like situation, the actual situation, how we professional we handle it, to solve the critical issue and so on. Is it can be valid on that?
Of course, yeah, can. Definitely lah. More than welcome. My only caution on that is when sometimes people don't understand the timeliness, because we have other people also equally want to express themselves. So when you give example, try to be articulative lah. As you know, some of us are quite good in that, but some of us, because very passionate about what we know, so we get lost ourselves, and then suddenly all you know is that you try to compress so much. You had about 5 years of solving one problem in this 5 minutes, and then become 10 to 15 minutes in just a single explanation. So it's just to be wary on the timing. That's all. Otherwise, of course, more than welcome to articulate examples. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Shuhaya, technology Shuha wants to say something.
Yeah, I would like to add, apart from asking many questions during the assessment, we also assess communication skill. So it's good that if you can express yourself or your experience short and sharp, because this is part of the assessment.
Yeah, exactly. Pushing, then end of the day, lost and then don't know what are you trying to say. It's more hurting than actually. So example must be value adding lah. Give a value adding example so that it's helpful to others. Because we, as I said, one of the most important challenge about assessment is group assessment. The benefit is everybody learn. Yeah, the challenge is timing. That's the problem. Because everybody want to express themselves on certain context of the question. So we just need to stay sharp in question and also answer lah. Try to keep it short. But at the same time, you can elaborate, no problem. Okay. Any more questions? Good. I think quite interactive today. Among the groups, I think we have a excellent candidate. I believe so. Who will be excellent technologist, professional technologist, inshallah, in the future. Any more? Last one before we close the shop. I think it's more than 120 minutes. I planned initially for 1 hour only, actually. Okay. So, any more? Pais, are you trying to say that anything more again? I just lower down your.
That's all. It's okay.
That's all. Okay. Thanks. Okay, with that, if there's no further question, if you have any pressing matter or burning question that you still need to clarify, you can put in the WhatsApp group, no problem at all. And if you have any, as I said, unique, issue challenges, you can either contact myself or Sophia personally, no problem also. If you have, inability to attend, final swap of slot and so on and so forth. But please, if you have any problem not able to attend last minute, please do not wait until your slot in order to inform. If you inform early, it's good because in view of others, to be fair. So we will swap around so that everybody time is optimized. For example, let's say you cancel, so many people cancel, got 1 or 2 left, we will just regroup again and so on. So do tell us early, do inform us as early as possible. As soon as you encounter a situation, and I wish that you don't encounter any situation, everything going to be fine with you, inshallah. safe and sound, and everything is going fine. All right. Take care, everyone. So we close with saying thank you to all and good luck to all of you as well. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. So see you all in the WhatsApp group. Bye now. Okay, Shuha. See you soon. Tomorrow, right, Shuha? Okay.